I get a roll call, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Eisner,
Here.
Here, Kubal. Not on Zoom. Okay. Merrill,
Here.
thank you. Zoom. Robertson,
Here.
Robinson,
Here.
Bob, Rosner,
Roser.
sorry. I apologize.
That's okay. That's good.
And then Rick DeGolia, the council member liaison. And then myself and Francesca.
Okay. Are there any public comments? Online? No one? Okay, let's move on. Approval of minutes. I had several changes I sent you, Tony, so I'm not sure it's ready for the group to review.
Yeah, I couldn't get them incorporated
Okay.
yet, but I talked to Robert about that and he wants me to work on that first.
Okay. That's fine. Then if you send it out in the within the next week, that should give everyone enough time if they want to comment. Yeah. Yeah, at least 6 days so that we each have a chance to have a couple days to comment and then you can get the edits back in. It's okay. And then May minutes, I only had one change. I don't know if anyone else, did you have some
On the
significant
minutes?
changes? Yeah, for the May meeting.
Well.
If you did, we can
I
then
had a
table
little
it.
trouble making out a lot of these comments.
Okay.
I
okay.
talked to Tony about this, about maybe having a little different format, so he
Yes.
doesn't have to go through and list everything everybody said.
Yeah.
So I think maybe you and I might talk with him.
Yeah, we
after-
can, if the rest of the committee is okay, Walt and I will talk to Tony about, a format for the minutes that I think the committee members generally will be happy with.
Oh, you are here.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I think everyone has their own particular way of wanting it, so no problem. So we'll follow up by email there.
Yes.
So we'll approve these last 2 months' minutes in July. And then this month's minutes too, so it'll be 3 months worth of minutes, no presentations. Let's move on to the regular agenda. So we're gonna cover the committee's top 3 initiatives and just see where we are for each of them, beginning with the circulation plan.
Yeah, so I just allow and the bid open on 5/9/23. They got 2 contractors to bid on it. It will go to council at the next council meeting, the contract will be awarded. If you want to know the numbers, Robert provided them to me, but he asked me to try to keep it within this room. So.
We are in a public meeting, so so that will, well, can we at least get a flavor if we feel that we've got bids that are we feel they can meet the requirements of the bid, they're bids that are what they call sufficient or
There was one was considerably amount higher than the other one.
okay.
So I'm not sure how council's handled it in the past.
Okay, is it in, and let me know if this is too much to ask, is it in staff's opinion that the lower bid would meet our requirements?
Yes.
Okay.
One requirement, I think, Tony, is that it come in 1.7 million or less, if I remember.
If the one that would meet that would meet that.
Okay, that's all we need is the one that would meet that.
Is it common to only have 2 bidders? I'm not
familiar with as much these kinds of contracts. I mean, I always feel like the number should be 3 or more, so you have but I don't know what's common.
First thing Bob would have me do, first week here, is go through complete all of the documents that have to do with the rehabilitation of the train station. And because it's a very old building, they have to follow the specific instructions that are provided by the federal government. So it's really extremely detailed on what they have to do. Like they have, if they pull a beam out, they have to make sure that they try to refurbish that one that was pulled out and put it back in rather than trying to source a new piece of 100-year-old wood. So I think going through all the plans in the beginning, those are model requirements involved.
Right. The answer to the question is, it's totally variable. There, on the train station, we got one bid. And on that issue, we had to decide whether we want to go for it, or we're gonna delay it 6 months and see if
Try
we
to
might
find
get
someone
more.
else. Yeah.
We, as Park and Rec, we put out bids to rehabilitate the restrooms in the carriage house. We've gotten no responses. So, you know, the issue from my perspective is smaller bids get very few responses because people have been challenged over COVID and they're looking for bigger jobs. Which is reasonable, I mean, and logical. So I'd say for this job, you know, yeah, we might have been able to publicize it better and get more than 2 bids, but we have to see the quality of the bids.
Okay.
I mean, we'd like to get it done this year. If we don't respond to one of these and don't choose one of these, it's gonna be a next year project.
And that one bidder that meets the requirements might go away and
Yeah,
not be
so
available
you-
to
you
do it
never-
at that
I'm
time.
telling you, it's incredibly variable. It's,
I believe
Does-
that. I
does-
just, that was helpful.
Does the grant require us to spend it in this upcoming fiscal year?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, okay. That might be also working.
Could I ask a question? I think maybe Rick, I'm looking at the budget, the 5-year CIP. And I see only $200,000 to be spent in the year, I think that starts July 1. For the park master plan, and then 1.15.
Is that in our packet or is that?
No, this is, it's what's in the packet you have for budgets, but not one that I have. No. Well, I'm
Okay, go ahead.
200,000 for the next year and 1.15 for the 2025. That would suggest to me that we might be 2 years off before we get this done. Surely. And I may be missing, some other place that it shows up.
Is this for the park circulation plan specifically?
Yeah, this is the park master plan. So this isn't the best item to. Yeah, I left it at home. We just had a
Well,
meeting
I-
on this.
Robert, yeah.
The issue is that we budget for particularly capital improvement projects, we budget out 5 years, but the only one that holds any water is the next year. So, and in general, we budget to do design for a project, and these are all kinds of projects. Park, drainage, and roadways are the biggest project areas for the town. And we design 1 year and we do construction the following year. So this 200,000 park master plan, I'm pretty sure
It's a playground?
that, no, yeah, so I think it's in this current year that we budgeted to build the fence from the railroad to Middlefield to rebuild that fence.
Yeah.
I think this 200,000 is to design for the playground.
Okay.
It's actually to rehabilitate the current playground. And the next year, there's I think this has actually changed, but at the budget meeting we had today, we approved 200,000 to design the playground for next year and 1 million to build the playground for the fall. I mean, next year being the one that we're
Yeah,
about to.
that upcoming fiscal year.
23, 24.
Yeah,
We're gonna
exactly.
design. We're both gonna rehabilitate the current playground, which hopefully will be done sometime this summer.
Okay.
I think that's rather hopeful, but that's the plan. And to find, do an analysis and bring it to Park and Rec as part of that cost to design a more modern, substantial children's playground. And there's $1 million in the budget for the following year to pay for that.
Yeah, we all looked at I think the money you're spending right now by the summer is the part that's taped off because nobody can use the climbing area.
Yeah. And the advice from Park and Rec that went to the council on that issue was meaningful.
Right.
And the council paid attention to that. So we're agreeable. And there were some people that felt like we shouldn't spend $200,000 to rehabilitate it. We should just do the other, but then there would be nothing until at most hopeful next year.
Yeah.
So we decided we need to give it to the kids that would use it.
A glorious playground for $1 million, huh?
Well, yeah, but that concept would address not just the older kids' playground, which is taped off, but also the young.
Oh, I know, the whole thing.
It completely redo the whole thing.
Yeah, because they lost the younger kids playground, lost the seesaw several years ago,
Yeah,
and it was never replaced.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can see what they've done at Nealon Park and Menlo Park if you want to see what a really first-class playground looks like.
And I'm telling you, it costs, it's not cheap.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about the circulation plan? Doesn't look like we have anyone online other than Frank, so why don't we move on to 5B, the Brightview Review Update and Event Garden Rehab.
Yeah, so. Met twice with Brightview this week. One was online, the other one was due to lockdown yesterday. So the soil.
Can't hear Tony.
Oh, I apologize.
My apologies. The soil has been rototilled and amended into the existing soil for prep for planting. All of the subsurface drip irrigation has been replaced and updated, along with the staples to help keep hoses buried in place. The next step, once the mulch is installed, we should have the subsurface drip approximately 6 to 8 inches below grade, which will help with the rodent activity in the area. The drainage has been installed and tied into the existing system, with all oak trees receiving drainage past the drip line, and the collection basins are at the lowest point throughout. We are currently waiting on the plant material. Most of everything is ready to ship, but about 20 to 30% of the material is only 50% rooted right now. Kevin, who is the rep from Brightview, is looking for another source for these plants so that we have the best quality plant material going into the ground. We've not begun the work on the DG path yet. We're probably going to do another walk down because there was a section of the DG path that he was concerned about over by where the sequoia trees are.
Is the DG path going to be replaced with what's there?
I do believe they're going to reground and then add, or they're going to replace completely, but I can double check on that.
But the material is going to be the same.
Yes, it's going to be,
It didn't hold up very well, in my opinion.
By the DG path, do you
DG
mean
doesn't.
the pathway around the event garden or the pathway out front of the?
in the front by
He,
Watkins.
he means that
Sorry.
the path from the pedestrian bridge to the entrance to the park. That was approved. I think it's asphalt now.
It is. It's
Mostly,
asphalt.
yeah, there's a little part that's DG,
It's a
but most
small
of it's
section.
asphalt.
DG near
Yeah.
the fitness.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And that asphalt's gonna be replaced with
With
DG,
DG.
that's the plan.
Yeah. There was a section right by that one section that's by the trees. I think they're the sequoias. Brightview's a little concerned about because of how the sprinklers are set. That section gets a lot of water, so they're looking at a possibly suggesting a modification. But I don't know what they're suggesting yet, so once I know, I'll let all of you know and let Robert know and Sally know. They're supposed to, because they're afraid once they get that DG in place and then it gets wet again like it is now in that one section, it's just going to deteriorate.
Yeah, that's what happened over the last
Yeah,
winter.
and they don't want to waste our money and they don't want to do it over again.
So can I
Tony,
ask a
would the
question?
alternative,
If water doesn't, if that surface doesn't handle water well, why would we be replacing the whole path with that?
Well, it actually does, but this is getting, it's like a continuous rain.
Water versus just rain.
Right, it's standing water. And if you walk the path and you can see where the sprinkler heads are, right? They're literally the asphalt ends and you have the grass and then a sprinkler.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like.
Right on the edge. Yeah.
Yeah, so what they're trying to figure out is that how to do it correctly so we don't have to redo it. And, but it's not going to hold up the process. He promised me that. They want to try to, excuse me, let me back up a little bit. That was a concern. And they're going to address that. There's going to be some coordination and logistical planning because there's going to be some heavier equipment, probably some parking, not adjustments, but we're going to have to manage the parking of the trucks. We're going to do a walkthrough early next week and potentially expedite the start date. Might even be able to start towards the end of this month or beginning of July. That's what they're shooting for. They
Okay.
want to get it done as much as we do.
Tony,
That's the
could I
most
ask
I
a
know.
question on this DG? I've seen DG really in bad shape.
Okay.
It scatters out over the adjoining area, whether it's grass or something. Was there any consideration of that right out that window that we put in here extensively, which wouldn't seem to have any of those issues? I like walking on it better. I walk a lot around that path.
Okay.
And the asphalt being broken up and so on is obviously not good. But the DG can be pushed up by roots and I don't like to walk on it, frankly. I think it's a bit dangerous as it starts to get, lumps and so on compared to this.
So you're referencing the cement that's drainable or the?
Just
the
right out here.
Cement.
No,
Yeah.
it's cement,
Well,
It's
it's a cement-like material.
yeah, but it
Yeah.
seems to be drainable, seems to be holding place.
Hopefully is permeable.
That's
Oh.
permeable cement.
So there would be
Sorry.
no,
It handles the water very well. The problem is that if there's roots that push up under it like they do under the asphalt. And like they would under the DG, they're gonna crack it like they crack the asphalt. The DG isn't gonna crack the same.
Trouble with DG having done it before, it is always needing to be fixed. I mean, it has the life expectancy is quite low and it compacts, as you'd imagine, more people walk on it.
Yeah.
And I agree, it can get sort of divity, so it is a little more dangerous, but you're very stuck with tree root. You have a tree root problem,
Yeah.
you're gonna have, it'd be worse to have asphalt or this with roots coming up. But I agree with your idea that DG,
Yeah,
we've had to use it and I don't like it, but we had to do it.
I think there was a point where you and I walked around here and looked at this permeable material that's used out here. That has performed extremely well over this very wet winter. And I asked staff about that, and their response was, the problem with the park path is that it's close to trees and the tree roots push the park path. And that's the problem with the asphalt, it cracks, and then it becomes dangerous and they're subject to tripping. And the same would be true with this, according to them, that it would crack the same way as the asphalt.
Okay.
So they prefer the DG, but I think we're gonna have to see how it goes. And ultimately, the goal is to replace the entire asphalt path,
Right.
but they're starting with that path from the pedestrian bridge to the entrance, and I think that's probably intelligent, so we can see what it looks like.
And there's a lot going in as we do the master plan. I mean, that's a huge amount of DG. Okay.
Let me give some advantages of DG, which is it's not friendly for skateboarders. It's not friendly for rollerbladers. It's not friendly for scooters.
That's a very good
That's a
point.
very good.
Not
point.
friendly for wheelchairs, not friendly with
Well,
walkers.
that's true.
It's like it's got really knocked down by those other ones. It's a good.
Yeah, but
That would be like a real racetrack.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so I see some advantages. in DG.
Okay.
Just one question, Tony. When is the event garden rehab? Do they expect to be done, Brightview?
The biggest, from Kevin, who's the rep,
Mhm.
is what he's worried about is the 20-30% of the plants they don't have yet.
So because of that, they're not sure.
Yeah, he's gonna give me a better date
Okay.
next week.
What's their range then expected?
He's trying to have it done like by the end of the month.
Okay, bye.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is really close. So I mean, he's pushing. And he says he has another source that he can look at. One thing he's worried about is that he told me is that sometimes some of these growers will take a 15-gallon plant and put it in a 30-gallon container. Say it's a 30-gallon plant.
Yeah,
What he's checking is make sure the roots are at
the edge of the pile.
where they should be.
Yeah.
So he's had that happen. He doesn't want that to happen. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Tony, what's the interface with all of the catering events and the receptions when they're out there doing all this? Have we had a problem there?
We've worked very closely with Cassidy
Yeah.
on making sure that we didn't interfere with any of her events. And so far, it's worked out, communication between her, Brightview, and us. So
Okay,
it's been
great.
real, yeah. And she told me that it hasn't affected her. And I didn't, shoot. I don't think she was. Well, let me think about that. I think there was one event, and I think it was on the 23rd. And we're just not we will stop early that day for her.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then we set that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's an event garden event and then stopping early. But event garden event.
Well, it was the pavilion event.
Oh, it's a
that-
pavilion
that'll
event,
Be
okay.
probably migrating out into the event
Okay.
garden.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was one of the dates. There was 2 dates and one of them's already passed. And that was the next one.
Any other questions or comments? And no online comments. Okay, why don't we move on to 5C, the pickleball survey and.
I did include a couple pictures. They didn't come out very well. I apologize for that.
Looks like they're working on it.
Yeah, I wanted to try to show you how they did remove a ton of material that was just really nasty dirt, and they did do a really good job of rototilling. Robert went out there. He didn't think it was good enough, so I told that to Kevin. And they're gonna do some more, trying to break up the big clumps. So when they put the final finish mulch on, the underneath dirt will be able to drain water properly. So I just wanted to show you a couple of pictures.
Tony, before you were involved, there was quite a discussion about how deep to put the rototill and the mulch. And actually, a PhD engineer who had supervised the event garden,
Okay.
meaning foundation person, because that was done solely by the foundation,
Oh, wow. Okay.
made some severe comments about the first proposal and saying how much it was necessary to do a good rototill job, and B, a very good deep mulch So
Yes.
if you could take a look at that, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll find out. I don't know exactly how deep the mulch is, but that's, 6 to 8. No,
No,
let me find
that's-
out from Kevin.
That's the irrigation.
Yep, you're right.
Thank you.
Let's move on to pickleball.
Yeah, now I didn't go over all the super details about it, so I figured I don't know how you want to handle it, Alex.
Maybe I'll just open it up. I think those of you who are interested probably read it, so I'm sure we will have a robust discussion.
Let me make one comment.
Sure, go ahead.
There are live links there, which you wouldn't open up unless you tried. One of them has 10 pages of comments. People were so interested. I was impressed. I mean, pro and con, whatever, and some nuances and so on. So I recommend that people look at that. There are kind of a variety.
Yeah.
The system tried to highlight what it was. You'll see supportive in blue, noisy in yellow. They're not all completely accurate, having looked at
Yeah.
all of them myself, but
Was that the
still,
computer or was that staff who did it?
that's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know who, I read those comments as well. Very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how that categorization.
The computer did put the last page of our report, remember, where it highlights words?
Yeah.
Some are more capital than others.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was, I couldn't get that to,
But I
just
think,
came out that way. That was.
You didn't have to print the comments. I mean, that's a link. We should do that if we want it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, on the last page, the way it came out, I couldn't get that to change.
oh, that's like, this thing? you mean?
that's a word
Yeah.
cloud.
Yeah, it's a word cloud. That's how,
Oh, got it.
yeah,
Okay.
the more common the word comes up, the bigger it'll be.
Right. No,
Okay.
but I think it's actually very interesting, not just for everyone to read the comments and understand, but also understand how other people think about the park as well. And what other things, I mean, I heard you guys talk about the dog park and that got brought.
Yeah, that
up
was in there
several
too.
times. So,
So this will, I think, if I understand, Rick, this will go to council at its next meeting. Maybe fine tune something by George and staff before it gets there.
I haven't seen an agenda for the next meeting, so. Is this coming to council at the June meeting, you know?
I don't know.
George told me that, but in any case, yeah,
Probably is.
yeah.
I haven't talked to him about what's coming. to the June meeting.
it said in the report, it says likely July 19.
Oh, does it? Sorry.
That's what, I don't know if that's true. Is that,
July.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. July 19, exactly.
yeah, that's what, so I just read that. I
would
don't know.
love to see it come in June.
Okay,
Yeah.
when is the June meeting?
It's the third Wednesday.
Couple of weeks,
2 weeks from
Yeah.
today,
if,
21st.
I guess Tony can communicate that to George that it'd probably be better to consider it sooner by council
Okay,
than the July
So-
meeting because it's heavy.
you would like to have an analysis sooner than July 19th.
Not,
Well,
no, have the,
It's better to come to June 21st meeting if we could.
Okay.
Yeah.
To have the,
council,
have it on the agenda
Yeah.
for the city council.
yeah.
Okay.
So they can consider what they want to do based on the results.
Yeah, I mean,
That's my
the
question.
survey's
What is-
done.
Yeah, what
I
is
don't
the
think
process?
There's any change that's gonna happen between now and June versus July, right?
Right.
Done.
Yeah.
So better to consider it in June, because July is gonna be about housing. It's gonna be a.
Okay,
So
Okay.
just review so we're all on the same page is, the city council will review it hopefully at the next meeting, if it's not June, July. But how do we interact with them in terms of how they review the survey? Do we want to go through it today? I mean, how does all that work as far as what the outcome will be?
And moreover, would the council look at it and then send it back to us for a recommendation
that's-
if they want to do a trial? I mean, it obviously cries out for a trial, what's here.
Well, I would say that if this committee has a recommendation to the council about whether to do a trial or anything else with respect to the pickleball issue, that would be, you haven't made a recommendation.
No, that's why I'm asking
Yeah.
about,
So
I didn't probably
Yeah.
state my question
no, the
very well.
process.
If
Is
you don't
what is
make
the
it-
process?
if you don't make a recommendation, my sense is the council's gonna feel like you're not gonna make a recommendation. So in that case, the council's gonna decide what to do.
Okay.
I mean,
So
I
the
don't know,
process is,
we haven't had a conversation with the council about this, so I really don't know what other people think. But, the survey is obviously, largely Atherton residents and favorable in doing a trial for pickleball. The big question is gonna be where you do that,
sure.
and there's kind of three
Issues.
realistic possibilities. It's either taking over a tennis court, it's spending the money to make the clay court usable, or spending the money to make the handball court usable. I don't think there's any other option. And I'd be surprised if the council's gonna agree to spend money to do it.
Right.
So-
That's why this is so, that's why I was trying to get clarification and why it's kind of confusing. I mean, if there's no money to spend, then what is?
Well, there's money to spend. It's not that there's no money to spend. There's a surplus in the budget, but there's other things that the
Right,
county. It wasn't on the CIP discussion today, so staff hasn't recommended anything with respect to this, which is appropriate because the whole issue has been controversial and hasn't come to the council yet. So
Yeah.
that, I think that will be the issue is it's pretty clear that there's a large number of people that are supportive of the trial,
right.
but what's realistic? Yeah.
And
Or do we make that recommendation? Do we say?
We
based on
we
the-
could, yeah, we can. So I think three key questions are, do we have a trial? Where will the trial be? And perhaps a time period for how long the trial will last.
And maybe when the trial will
Run
be
from.
active, like, will it be 24 hours a day?
Yeah,
or-
yeah.
or,
Yeah,
you
how is
know,
it-
Whenever the park's.
How's it being operated?
Proposing a trial, it seems like. this
Is
is
it gonna be a walk
comprehensive.
on any time? Is it, what's it gonna be?
Go ahead.
One thing,
Sorry, what was
go
that?
ahead, we didn't hear you.
Okay.
I said another thing that has to be decided is it gonna be locked? Are people gonna have keys? Are they gonna have to set up a reservation to play? How's all that gonna happen if it goes on court one?
Proposal that we would.
Yeah, there has to be something that says, how are you gonna manage it?
Yeah,
Not just open the court and say, go ahead and play
well,
pickleball.
of course not, but I guess
Well,
that's what I'm saying. is
that would be an
it
option.
sounds-
I should just say one possibility is the council could say, there's too many open issues here. We're not gonna deal with this. If Park and Rec can't recommend it, we're not gonna look at it. But, and so they could throw it back to you. That's a possibility, yeah. I mean, we haven't had a discussion, so I really have no idea what. other-
It sounds like though, that if we have the results of a survey that say there's interest, that it seems like it would be incumbent upon us to put together a proposal that would address the issues that.
Well, there's one issue we have that is, I think this is a great survey. I'm really glad to get this information. The issue of the noise, and there's a lot, unfortunately, I know more about it than I had ever hoped. And there's a lot of research on it, and the issue of where it works without spending quite a bit of money on noise abatement is 300 feet. And so I think what the council, what we need to look at is what is the true cost of setting it up? And if we know ahead of time that it's about 70 dBA, if you don't have noise mitigation. I think there's enormous appetite for it. I completely agree, and I think it would be a really good addition. But the other side of it is I don't want to start something that means the only way we're gonna ever do it is if there's a $15,000 to $30,000 noise abatement charge. And I don't think we can act as though that isn't gonna happen because it's just too close to the Helton Gables people, and there's way too much data about this throughout the country. So I would just say that's the one area it shouldn't have been covered in the survey, but I do think for us, we need to at least look at that issue and have I don't know if we need a recommendation, but it needs to be raised because that's a serious amount of money.
But that is one of the main things that would come out. That's-
No, you don't have to do the trial to know the problem. Because it's based on
Well,
distance between
Is
where
there,
you are and where you're
is there
going
something we
forward.
can use during the trial to test out noise abatement?
Well, it's really expensive. No. You
No,
have to
no.
buy
I
some
don't-
kind of light.
I don't, I think I think the subcommittee at one point and others, like, you can first, acoustics do depend on certain things, straight travel versus not, but I think we will have to, either make the decision to go forward with a trial or not without noise abatement. There's no chance that we're going to be buying, $30,000 of Acoustifence to run a 2 to 3 month trial. I think we should be prepared, both in to how we think that those few homes that might be affected. And I think we should consider the right hours of potential play as part of this trial, to certainly not disturb people. But I think a couple things. I also think that there's no way we're going to spend $100,000 to replace a clay court to do a trial. I also think we're not going to spend, I don't know how much the handball court would be, but I suspect it to be a significant amount.
Yeah, and that would just be.
So
full
I think
court.
I think the only possible proposal is to move, and it's supported by the people in the survey. The number one choice was to do a temporary pickleball on one of the tennis courts. So I think that would be, especially if we're listening to the community, probably the most sensible choice, make sure that people will use it. There's demand there. We assess the noise. Those seem to be the best ways to do the trial.
The one problem I see is, if we do the trial, and what I would guess, we do the trial, there's going to be great enthusiasm. I think this seems, the most likely case is there's a lot of appetite. So my guess is it's going to be used. The issue that I'm looking at and trying to balance is the issue that if we know what the noise is going to be, and to be able to, after the trial, put these courts in after we've said it to everybody, we're doing a trial, and we find out that there's a noise abatement price tag that is higher than we are ever going to be willing to pay. I feel like you can get yourself into sort of hot water with saying, do you want it? And then we say, well, that's great, but the noise is such, which you can find today from an acoustic person. You don't have to, you look at it on a map, it's not hard. And so what I don't want to do is start down a road,
Yeah.
lead people to be so happy and then say, well, the trial was really enthusiastic, but we don't have the X $1,000 to do noise abatement.
One of the things that concerns me is we do the trial and noise is the problem. Okay, because there's an appetite, that's not an issue for me to play pickleball in Atherton. But noise is a problem. Noise has been the problem at every place that they play pickleball on a tennis court. Okay, now, will it be a big enough problem? So we're guessing that it won't be, and we'll be able to move ahead and have pickleball on one of the courts. But if it is, we have no money to do anything.
I think
My-
that's what Trish was just
Yeah,
saying.
Yeah.
and the other
Oh,
problem
yeah.
is.
Okay,
the
sorry.
current neighbors, we can't say they're okay with it because anybody can own that house.
Yeah,
And what I don't want to do is set up sort of a false equivalence, like we've shown that you really want it,
yeah.
but the acoustics are such that you're talking, I don't know what it is, it's somewhere between $10,000 and $30,000 to put up effective acoustic buffering.
Well,
And
but
so we need to
remember
think about
too,
that.
we don't have the location for the buffer. If you look at court one, next to court one is another
Yep.
court, then another court. When I see the buffers up, they're around an area that's only pickleball.
That's right.
It's
No, that's-
close to
you're
the
exactly right.
pickleball.
Yes,
It's
it
not
is.
200 feet away when you put up the buffer.
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding.
What,
You
you
mean-
remember,
do you
you
mean-
remember what
I
the
think he means-
configuration is?
Yes,
It disturbs the other tennis players.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
You could put around all the tennis courts,
Or you could just put.
Or
it-
just around the one.
I
Or
think
just
you-
around the
you
one
do
corner.
it around.
Yeah,
one.
if it's a new wall up between the two.
Yeah,
And I
and that's
think-
not unusual, but
but I-
oftentimes you have
yes,
to
I mean,
raise, you have
I
to
think-
raise the height is the other issue.
I guess the question I would say is, or bring up is if there's a true appetite, a true demand from the town, whether we raised funds publicly for the noise abatement, or, you know, I don't know. I mean, if we're spending a lot of money on a playground, would $30,000 for something that would be highly desired by Atherton residents be a worthwhile investment? Might be. I don't know if I would put that as a reason to not do a trial.
Oh, I'm not making that. What I'm saying is I think when we talk, when we send something to the council,
Mhm.
but this covers demand beautifully and is really compelling. But I think there is enough knowledge now about the noise issues from so many municipalities that the odds, the odds on likelihood outcome is that we're going to have to deal with noise abatement. So the cost to the town is not going to be just the pickleball. And I agree with, no, maybe there is an appetite to privately fund it, but this document doesn't even bring up
So
the
you're,
issue of noise. And I would at least say to them, we will have to address the issue
Yeah.
of noise. And we're not going to say, but that it just needs to be there because that's going to be a cost, even if we can raise it private.
so what you're saying is you're a committee that made a recommendation to us, but did nothing about a potential problem.
Wait, hold on. We made a survey.
Yeah.
That then brought these results back. What I'm saying is it's impossible in a survey to say, if there were a noise problem, what would you have to look at, that's on us as a committee. That's not on the subcommittee. We have a location in the park that's so many feet straight to a house. We need to tell the council that we are aware that there are noise issues that may, will need to be addressed and may lead to more costs
I mean,
than
we-
just
I
pickleball.
see what
We,
you're saying.
yeah, we as a committee could recommend something like, it'd be privately funded or be partially privately funded, or ultimately the council will decide what they want to do. And if it's something that the council feels needs to be mitigated, then they will require it that it has to be either privately funded or the town will chip in something for it to happen.
Right, and they decide, just like the playground, to Noah's point,
Yeah.
they decide what funds would be allocated. to
Exactly.
right.
We could make a recommendation as a committee to say what we think would be fair. But I'm not sure we have that much data to say one way or the other until we actually have the trial. And then
Saying that knowing what I know and what my research
Yeah.
has done is that we do know that at some point, somebody can raise an issue of
Yeah,
noise.
that's-
Just want to say, all I want to do is say to the council, in all likelihood, we will be addressing, the issue of noise, which could lead to added expense, which could be covered in any number of ways.
Well, I think
yeah,
that,
yeah.
I think that would absolutely be part of a comprehensive.
Good,
proposal,
well, that's
right?
what,
Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
Yeah,
that-
I just don't
let's
think,
just
I'm
add
not
that so
sure.
that we
So Rick was bringing up that we want to get this on the agenda for June.
Mhm.
How are we going to do that? Is there some sort of vote here? Is there just, well, let.
So I have several questions in terms of, we can vote on whether there's a trial or not, where we would have the trial in terms of which court. Any recommendations for time period in terms of when they start, maybe in August or something like that and stop in October. And then operating hours. I don't know if we're ready for that,
That's
but
what I was gonna say, is if we as a committee decide, based on the demand that is clearly shown to the subcommittee.
Yeah.
That to me, it would say, we now know there's demand, let's put a proposal
But
together.
I think we already did the proposal. So I think we're just going to circle. We already did the proposal.
So
And
it's resurfacing that.
we have the demand that we expected.
Okay.
And so I'm not sure what, other than I think modification of hours, I don't think we really would change anything at a subcommittee level, because if we're not going to put in noise abatement, I don't think there was any other massively open issue.
Then maybe that's what I'm saying, it's just.
I just don't think
resurfacing.
we'd need to run this through
Okay.
back to subcommittee. back
Sure.
up.
No,
So
and that's,
if-
I mischaracterized. I just think bringing the proposal that was already put together back to go through to answer some of the
I
specific
think,
questions.
Yeah, I just want to
I think
review
Alex
that.
has them.
I'm gonna have to remind myself because I wasn't on the subcommittee for the last year, but the trial was a yes, I assume. The where, where did the subcommittee have the decision on the where, which court?
It was the tennis court closest to home plate.
Number one.
One.
That's
So that
okay.
Furthest, is that
From
the
the
furthest away? from
Furthest
the
one.
house?
Furthest
Yes.
away from the house.
Court.
That was the reason it was selected. I
And
think.
just so we're,
Okay,
just so we're aware, during the trial, if somebody comes and complains about noise, we're gonna have to shut the trial down. I mean, what are we gonna do if that, because they're gonna make a complaint, the hours don't matter. I mean, if somebody comes in, I think what we need to do as a town, just for issues of liability and how we're gonna proceed, at least highlight that we have a vulnerability of dealing with noise complaints from day one. And I think Noah's right, you don't do it at 7 in the morning, but it doesn't matter. People can, the issue of noise is still an issue. So I like that it's far away, but I still think we need.
I
to say
think that might
something.
be a little
That's it. I think that's
difficult
our legal-
because
it might-
because someone who might not like pickleball can just say, oh, it's too noisy, shut it down now.
Yeah.
Well, the trouble is they can come
You
in with a,
know Whether he
with
likes it or
noise.
dislikes.
well, that's what I'm saying to you is how,
And you'll have to go and measure where he's standing, where he says there's a problem.
Well, it could be.
It doesn't matter whether he likes it or not, does not like it. If he's got noise, he's got noise. You gotta find out if he does.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's a.
I mean.
Well, we can't
I
really
just,
sh-
I think that doesn't quite reach the bar of a town shutting down a service based on one person's complaint of something. But I think that's for our town legal to decide, not.
Let's
for-
highlight that as an issue,
Okay,
just what
that's
will we
fair.
do in the event
Sure.
of a noise complaint? Just, we don't need to
Okay,
put a
okay.
fine on what it is, but
Okay.
what will,
Yeah.
or say that could be an issue.
And then in terms of time period, was it a couple months or
I-
1 month?
You had,
We had recommended 2 to 3 months.
Okay,
Because I think there has to be marketed from our understanding of how other towns have done it. Everything starts a little slow because awareness. And so I personally think we should say 3 months, and if the council says, no, you only should do 2, then that's fair.
Okay.
I know in our, similarly, we said 7 days a week. 24, well, all park time open. Based on the feedback in this, document and what we heard from a couple of people that came, I'd rather us focus the hours both for community, kind of potential noise issues and other things that happen in the park. But I think also what we've learned is the tennis tends to be more afternoon and pickleball tends to be more morning based. Let's listen to that and do more morning based, like kind of, I don't know if it's 9 to noon or, something where, and it also focuses demand that would make people all congregate at a similar time.
okay. The only downside I can see with that is that we won't get data for nighttime use or
Oh,
evening use. The sound acoustics might be different and people are home during the evening and they might feel
Well, the
different.
trial will tell us that we can do it from 9 to 12, but what the trial will tell us.
Yeah, that
I
will
mean,
tell us
It
if
will
we
not
can-
tell us anything other
Yeah.
than that.
It
So-
might- yeah.
We may want to have some days, perhaps evening, just to get that data. Yeah. But we can say morning based, maybe
Morning based,
during the
yeah.
week, something like that.
And I think 3 months
In
makes
terms
sense.
of the trial, have we had any other town doing trial?
Yes.
Sorry, we can't
Have
hear
we ever
you.
had another time do a trial?
So hard to hear you down
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
to
we
do
can't
what,
barely
yeah,
hear
take
you.
it,
Is the
talk
mic
into
on?
the mic.
Yeah, it's on, it's
Oh,
on.
it's on.
You just need to be
It
able to.
doesn't pick up.
They couldn't hear you, that's all.
Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Other-
Do we have another town or another place that they did a trial? And do we know how it went?
So I know Menlo Park certainly did one and it recently moved to full time and they're trying to
Hmm?
get more courts. Palo Alto, technically, it was a trial and they kept growing on and have really focused their efforts at Mitchell Park.
Redwood
Los
City.
Altos is recently added. I believe that's Los Altos, or might be Mountain View, Mackenzie Park, Redwood City. What was
Or-
Redmore? So what I think I would also put it on, to see if we can learn some best practices about how they've managed the trial. I know
Right,
I,
right.
It's a great idea.
but.
I- I heard that the Circus Club was going ahead with
Circus
pickleball.
Club gonna
Is
stop?
that-
They're actually shutting them down.
Yeah.
For 3
They're-
months.
Because of the neighbors.
They're right,
Okay.
they are shutting them down.
Okay.
They're
down.
putting,
Well, that may
they're
be-
moving it away.
That may be a different distance and I'm not trying to compare it, but it could be different. I mean, could be further away.
And I have been both
And
to
sound
Mitchell
abatement.
Park and appropriate to your point, Mitchell Park has certain courts that are limited in pickleball time, which is earlier on. And then they go back to tennis. And there and in Nealon, there's no issue about people being close. These are
Yeah.
parks that have, spaces. If you look at Mitchell Park.
Yeah.
There's no residents within, 2 blocks. of the
Yeah,
court.
Mitchell's a very unique.
So it's
one,
very
and I fully
different.
agree. Nealon actually does. It has those apartments that are really close, but
Well, not, got to go across the street.
no, it's actually, there's that's really, really close. Nealon, I'm surprised. And during, at least when I read the minutes, they only had one complaint at that time. When they were approving the pilot, but I don't know. Every community is going to be different and we cannot, we won't know. But yes, I think the big takeaway is other towns have run trials. Let's learn how to best do it and assess it and figure out, including, there will be, I guess it should be noted, there will be some costs to run a trial for nets and mostly it's to reline the courts or to dual line the courts.
But fairly limited, right?
A
Noah?
couple $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing,
So that'll have to go in as an
The
estimate in the trial.
Yeah.
So when the town says, let's go do it or don't do it, they know what the cost is.
Yeah.
Okay,
the other question is Atherton
They
resident
can
use.
decide what to do about that.
okay.
They can decide to bear it or
Not
require
bear it.
the people that are gonna use it to pay it.
Yeah.
Well, that's another thing you could do. You could have it paid for by those who
That
try the
brings up
trial.
The whole issue of how somebody gets access to the
Yeah.
court.
Right.
So one of the best
Yes.
practices that town like Menlo Park, which has a key system, was not to have a requirement for the pickleball courts during the trial. Actually, they have continued that for just pickleball. There's no key charge. We could decide afterwards, but for trial, they wanted to assess demand and interest. And so they went without any, and we've talked about how pickleball's more of a drop-in sport rather than a tennis court reservation kind of activity. So those were, the recommendations out of that. And I think what we put in the subcommittee.
We have a basic problem with that, of course. People are paying as much as $300 to play tennis. And if you allow people to walk on to the pickleball court, they can walk on to the tennis courts as well. Secondly, I'd like to find out how many Atherton residents are going to use this. I mean, if we're just building another court for people from Redwood City to Sunnyvale to work, I don't think that's the role of this park. So I would have to modify. I understand it. I see how they go on at Mitchell Park. I see how they focus on that. But those are dedicated courts. They're not courts that are, and they're paid for by taxpayers, obviously. And here, what we talked about before was having a reservation system. And by doing that, you can find out how many people are Atherton residents. The proposal at one point was to have the person go online, reserve, and whoever else was playing to put down their address. That would give us the best focus on that. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's realistic, but I think that would be very,
Yeah.
very important.
I think, I don't think that's realistic. And for how people are doing it, that I would say the positive thing about that it's taken a little bit more time is that Red Morton has been established for Redwood City's people. Kenyatta College now has courts up there. Menlo Park has a number of courts. Mitchell has a number. So I think the chances of people being like, oh, well, let's drive 20 minutes from Foster City. They could go down here, you know, there are other courts available. That said, I do believe that we should be doing spot checks on usage, which other towns have done. And at the time, I see no reason why we shouldn't be asking, hey, what city are you from? And see if we're getting Atherton usage. I do, because I do think it's important.
Well, I don't think a spot check will ever tell you that. But in any case, the other way to do it, I guess, is to have a sign in right there at the court. That's not burdensome.
Right? I think that'd be fair. Just have like, put your
Right.
name on if you want to use the courts and what town, that sounds fair.
It also seems like after the trial, since we have about an 80% Atherton resident response in this one, I think we should go back to those people and make sure they were able to use the pickleball court when they wanted.
Sure,
That's an easier.
If
way
we
to
have
go
that
back and
information,
say,
yeah.
Did you have, because I do think it is an Atherton park and it really needs, it needs to be that Atherton residents feel like,
And-
I can
and
play pickleball here.
I 100% agree. And I also 100% want to put the same standard to tennis, not just for the key courts that are used, but also when I think of it, we should be encouraging the player capital courts to also encourage Atherton usage because it doesn't seem to be that way right now.
So,
So
but they
I
fund
put
lots.
that.
You mean?
They're being paid for by that, but the same thing we could say about the key system or any other things. Let's move on, but I do believe that if we're talking about, we want a thing to be used by Atherton people, I think that's fair, and let's do it, you know, for all the stuff, if we want to have that same.
That brings in the lessons that are given by the people who run the courts, which is player capital. So if you say there's no one except Atherton people have a lesson, then you have a whole different,
I'm not
So-
saying that.
So-
We haven't ever done that. What we've said to both player capital and to the play school is that they need to give priority to Atherton residents.
No-
which
no
they've
question.
done.
no question.
That's fair.
And that happened.
And the same thing with our town rentals, like we give an
Well,
advantageous
yeah,
price.
Give a break on price, yeah.
You know, there's lots of people that use the park that aren't Atherton residents. And we don't try to control that in any way. There have been debates about that over time, by the way. But we don't try
Well,
to control that at all.
Yeah, well, there's some control on it.
The real
I asked
issue
him-
is
I asked him
if
for their
there's gonna
key.
be any money.
So that's Michael's
Also,
job.
I mean, that's why I,
My
the
job
whole
too.
Oh, it is?
player
Okay.
capital issue
Yeah,
is,
of course.
do they give between 50 and 75,000?
Committee for the town.
That's true.
40 something.
It's my job.
Okay, well, that issue, that's how.
Oh, it doesn't pay.
Not well liked.
Really important money.
That's-
So
that'd be-
we can't, you know, we're not gonna,
You should get it.
getting rid of that money would
Because
be
you're-
fatal for that.
People ask me where they get the.
Need that for the budget.
Oh, it is.
So
Maybe we should
you know,
have a sign or
I'll
something.
show you.
with that agreement,
Show you
to
how to
me,
get one. Spend your money.
worrying about whether they're doing pickleball and tennis are in different pockets.
Money for-
Don't
Only
have
have one
court.
talk at a time, please.
Right.
Sorry, we're
Go ahead.
just having us.
Okay, so
Sorry.
what other parts?
So I didn't get a consensus here for access to courts in terms of keys or free, so we won't make a recommendation on
But
that.
is there a possibility, I don't know enough, but would there be a possibility of having a key, but being able to sign up as an Atherton resident to get the key
I'm not
for
sure. I
the
understand.
trial?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean.
how are they gonna get on the
You
court?
know,
Oh,
is there a way to do it? I agree with no, that the idea of charging during the trial is probably not the best way to go about it. But I do feel strongly about Atherton residents using it, and I could see a scenario perhaps where you come to wherever you go to sign up for keys and you get, as an Atherton resident.
A key for just that court.
Just for that court, just for that court, and
Okay.
that court, that lock will exist on that court for the 3 months of the trial. And that's all it will exist for. And you know, that's just rekeying a lock. That's
And
that's
then-
not a big.
And then
expense.
it's free to any Atherton resident.
Yeah, read it any app. They can sign up and get it. and then they can play pickleball.
It'll
That
take a-
seems to me a very cost-effective way
Yeah, I
to do
think
it.
it'd be cost effective ways. It'd take a little change in the, how you get into the courts.
It
You have to
would, but-
Change a couple keys. a
Exactly, but
couple
only
locks
real, not too much, and
to
that
make
way
it in.
we'd have more, you were both saying,
Yeah.
a little more information
You would.
about what's happening.
You would.
Does that sound like a good compromise, everyone?
That sounds like something we want to do.
Yeah, oh, okay, okay. Hearing no objections,
But I,
go ahead.
how are we going to summarize all this? if we have money?
I'm gonna summarize it
Let-
right
let-
now.
Let me say something let me say something in the record. You're going to summarize it right now?
Yeah, so I'm gonna summarize, then I'll
And
make
then
the
the
motion. Go ahead, but go ahead, Walt.
Okay, my motion is that we adopt the following. The Park and Rec Committee recommends council direct staff to implement a 3-month trial of pickleball at Holbrook Palmer Park on the following terms. Court 1 will be converted to a court shared between tennis and pickleball by the addition of temporary pickleball striping and the use of removable pickleball nets. In order to track the usage, all players will sign in and will obtain a key for the usage of the pickleball court. The sign-in will require everyone to put down their address so that we can track the usage. Pickleball court will be available between 9 and 12 each morning. The town will incur the cost of dual temporary striping of 1 tennis court for pickleball courts in addition to 4 temporary nets. During the 3-month period, staff will monitor and record the usage by residents and non-residents, as well as any complaints as to noise from nearby residents, tennis players, and others in the park, and any parking issues created by the pickleball players.
Got that?
Wow, well, it's most important he got that.
I mean,
Yeah, right.
You could listen to the
No.
recording.
Wow, that's.
I mean, I just throw this out. I mean, this-
I
you
find
just
that-
kind
I
of,
found that more 98% correct that I heard, so. I'm-
Two will transcribe it, just. to let you
that's
know.
good enough for government work, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I-
Thank you,
one
Walt.
Clarifying
Sure, go ahead.
is that oftentimes people feel that doing 4 courts is very crowded on a tennis court. And sometimes they choose to do 3. Now, the difference of that, of course, is whether they're vertical or horizontal, but that needs,
Yeah,
we need to
but-
make that decision because you're right on top of each other when you do 4. So if anybody hits the ball out of their court, I mean, this is just,
Yeah.
I defer on what that is, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
agree that it's 4. I don't know if it's 3 or 4. And also, I don't understand quite how the key works. If you get one as an Atherton resident, you sign up for one as a non-resident?
No, no, I'm just saying that anybody that goes to the court will have a sign-up book there, and they will put down their address.
They
So
might,
we can track everybody.
yeah.
And if they don't, I mean, we
Yeah.
gave it a
Will we
try.
have keys for residents?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll have keys
As
for
you
residents. They
said,
get it, no
somebody
charge.
will have a
was
key.
it in your motion that they were free for Atherton residents, or it was, okay, okay.
I-
Or you didn't say a cost?
I thought they might be free for everybody, frankly, but
Okay.
what do
Well,
you
they,
think?
well, I think the Atherton residents clearly is free.
Yeah.
It's Do other people,
For a trial, it'd be
For-
very.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it for a trial. just
Anybody
because.
can do the trial, what we're saying.
I would have a free key for Atherton residents.
yes.
But not for any,
I agree.
So
Okay,
you'd have to
Yep.
pay? Or
No.
you'd have them not have? a key?
just not, they just don't
Okay.
have a key.
You have to be from Atherton.
Oh, I mean, if you bring a guest, I mean, it's okay.
You're
I don't think you're gonna kick anyone out that's a friend.
how would the other people that are
Only,
non,
some people I know would
Have
do
to know
that.
an Atherton resident.
Go ahead.
they,
Walt.
yeah, the other people couldn't get on?
No, no,
Let's-
they, if you had a friend that,
No, no,
like,
I'm just saying, let's say just somebody from Palo Alto wants to come and play,
Yeah, but-
not associated with Atherton, they just want to try it.
well, if they don't have a key, then they can't get access.
Okay, okay. I didn't know whether we're gonna charge them extra or.
No, 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 no. I think it'd get a little too
Gonna get
complicated if you
Atherton
start
residents
charging
anyway.
for a trial. I
Okay.
mean, does that sound?
Yeah.
I think, okay.
That sounds reasonable.
So I had a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? Frank, did you want to vote?
You can't
You
vote.
can't,
Oh, okay.
it's not a.
But-
Sorry, you've been disenfranchised. Sorry.
It's unanimous.
That's us, but you can't.
Give comment.
Thank you.
And I forgot to ask for public comment, but I don't see any, so, okay. So that was easy.
Alright.
Let us move on to Park and Sign Committee. Frank and Julie, did you guys have anything you want to
We
report?
don't, because we have not had a chance to meet yet.
Okay,
Next time.
then we'll move on to 5E. Park and Rec annual report preparation. So I got here late, so I'll just hand it down. So these are just a summary of the things, items I will present in our annual review, Park and Rec annual review to the city council. So I'll have a slide about the top 3 initiatives we've been working on: circulation plan, pickleball, Brightview evaluation, summarize how that's going, and what we've done. Circulation plan should be probably about to begin construction by the end of this fiscal year, or, well, depends if we accept the bids, I guess. So that maybe it won't be beginning construction, or the bid might not even be awarded because it's still being considered. So I'll scratch those guys out. Pickleball, I'm gonna make a recommendation. This is some real-time changes here. And Brightview, just what we've done with Brightview and what they've done this year, and at the event gardens in the middle of the rehab, and hopefully done by the end of this month.
I think that's very accurate. We also evaluated them for everything else they're doing in the park.
Correct.
So I think your statement's
Okay,
very accurate.
Was there 2 courts resurfaced?
yes, the last 2 courts in this fiscal year.
Why,
Is that one and one?
why
the
did
one we're gonna
6
use?
then stay so
Oh.
good?
What's that?
Why did court 6 stay so good and with no cracks?
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, I don't know why 6 stayed so in such good shape. Everybody wants to play on 6. So okay, all right, I must be wrong. I'll take another look.
The 2 courts, the courts next to the clay court were the ones we surfaced, right? Is that 1 and 2, or is that,
1 and 2.
there's 1 and 2, okay.
No, it's
Didn't
one.
all 4 get resurfaced?
Yeah, I thought the only ones that didn't was the.
3 got resurfaced 1 year,
Yeah.
and the next year we did the other 2.
I see.
Oh. it
So
may have
this is
crossed-
just this
it may have-
year?
Yeah, they all had the new surface on it, but they were in 2 different years.
Exactly,
Thank you.
exactly, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're not they have been resurfaced.
They have, yeah, in the last fiscal,
Resurface them before we paint pickleball.
no. So, yeah, this bullet point is just the things that have been done this last fiscal year, so just reviewing that. And then we've also made some recommendations for the tennis program that we think will help for the community. Event garden rehabilitation, we reviewed and approved those plans. It's kind of part of the Brightview item 2. Carriage House fan replacement. I remember we did that at the beginning of the fiscal year with Sally, but I'm not sure if fans actually got installed. Okay, maybe I'll ask Sally. I remember we made a recommendation for a fan, but after that, I don't know if she actually went through with the vendor to actually get them installed, but I'll ask her. And then the budget review we did, and we prioritized the projects. And yeah, and these are all kind of the key projects that we recommended be focused on the next fiscal year to take care of. And then the council approved EV charger.
Did we
additions.
recommend that?
No, we did not recommend this. This is things that have been changed. in
Things
the
that
park.
happened.
This is a park review, right?
Oh, I
It's not-
see.
it's
I
not
thought
just-
this was
It's
our-
not just us, but
You take credit.
it's an annual park review that the council asked from our committee. So sometimes it's so important, it has to go
Yeah,
past
right,
us and
okay.
go right to council. And then the last one is, one question I had when I got the yearly handbook and it described the Park and Rec Committee, it said, we are supposed to have a master plan for Reading Park. And I go like, that's odd. I always thought that Reading Park was kind of not part of our purview. But the booklet says it is, so, so I don't know.
Reading.
This is Reading Park, things, what is next to the library. So this area,
Reading the library.
yeah. So I was just gonna ask council if you guys want us to take a look at this park
Ah,
as well, because we normally do not.
Where is it?
This area,
It's this
Well, who
area.
does it?
Oh,
Who's been doing it?
I think the
Nobody.
council's been directly looking at it.
It just got built.
Yeah.
Right.
exactly.
That was
Whatever we're
discussed-
supposed to do, we have
Is
to
it
do.
separate?
I proposed that previously and the council says no.
That's right. I had
Yeah.
it in a draft.
Then I got the latest Atherton resident handbook and it said the Park and Rec Committee. It was just updated. I just got it. It says the Park and Rec Committee is in charge of Reading Park. Just
We
updated.
edited.
Alex,
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
There
Then
is-
I'll-
there is-
Alex,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Then-
Okay.
Alex.
Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
That was discussed 5 years ago before the rebuild of the town hall and everything else was that park should be part of Park and Rec at that point. So,
It's not relevant.
Okay.
We can get rid of that.
Okay, okay, I will
We can pick up-
stricken
we can
that
pick up any-
from my presentation. No problem. I just wanted to make sure
Okay.
of that. So that's it. Any comments?
No, this,
That looks good.
this was a good summary.
Yeah,
Very
thank you.
helpful.
Okay, we'll move on to 7, Foundation Report. So Frank? Or? Walt?
I'll let Walt do it since he's on
And I
site.
think Frank is probably an observer at this point.
Okay,
So the foundation met not long ago, i.e. 2 days. And their main discussion is about the centennial. As we know, there are going to be a number of tables. They're going to encourage people to come and look at the tables, both neighborhoods and things like the library and the park. So anyway, we're planning that, and Frank is actually putting in yeoman service there. And so that's been our main discussion, trying to encourage people, learn about the park. Some of our members have said they talk to people in Atherton who don't even know about the park and never experienced the park. So what we're trying to do is to publicize the park when we go there, when they
Members
come.
of
And this is, of course, on the 24th of September, a Sunday. Going to be a joyous occasion, I think, because there's a great amount of planning being done. So that was our main discussion about this. Obviously, the foundation's interested in reports on things like pickleball, or things that might go on in the park. So I think that was the main discussion. Let me bring up a related issue to that, which is you may have all received this message from the town council, from the staff, that says they would like some of us to go over when they have music nights on Thursday nights. You get
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, I did. see
Yeah,
Tomorrow
that.
night.
I don't know how that would work. I have no idea what you do. You stand around with a
That was a
placard or.
weird- That was strange. I agree. That was kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it was very strange. But I started to respond to say, I'll come to the next one. I can't go tomorrow, but I'm glad you brought that up. Like, what is it that we're supposed to do?
Yeah. yeah. So anyway, I think that's related to this issue.
It's just
Tomorrow night.
Well, there's already been one.
yeah,
Has
last
been.
Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, last Thursday.
Did anybody go?
I dropped by briefly.
Were there many people there?
There's a decent amount of people, maybe like 40 or
40?
so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw,
And they were, the food truck was,
there was a food truck
Well,
here.
you-
Yes, that's right.
So was it here that the musical?
Yeah, yeah,
Up there.
on the porch over there.
food truck right over here. Apparently they've chosen a separate food truck
Where
to
was it?
have each time.
Pardon? Right? They.
Where was it
They
then?
did this.
On the
pre-COVID.
porch
They did
of the library.
concerts.
Porch of the library, yeah, the big the
Right.
launch area there,
But
yeah.
I think they aren't doing the concerts in the park because they were expecting the circulation plan to be in construction.
Ah,
Yeah, this is only a temporary.
That
But
was-
that obviously hasn't started yet.
Oh, there's more?
There's
Yes.
one more. It's tomorrow and next week,
Yeah.
the 8th and the 15th.
Then they have a couple movie nights the next Thursdays.
Yeah.
Although his movie nights are probably here, but I'm not sure where they're gonna set up though. Okay, is there anything else that the foundation had? Oh, so are you asking, they're asking for volunteers, but I'm not sure. Are you asking for volunteers too, or?
Well, yeah, there's 2 volunteer times that are coming. One,
Yeah.
in my view,
Tomorrow.
more importantly, would be on the 24th of September. And we will have a table for the foundation, and we'd really like to have people, nobody wants to sit there all this time. But we will have explanation of the history of the park, what's available now, trying to encourage that. So I think it fits with our committee. I don't have any idea what we do over here. It's very noisy I was there at the concert. I don't know what you're gonna do. You're gonna sit there and ask people to come away from the concert or hang around the food truck or
Well,
whatever.
the town had a table over there next to the wood sitting area, so I'm not sure how many people they got to talk to them, but it was noisy.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anybody wants to go, I'm
I
not
can
work
ask
through
her
that
if-
music. Yeah.
Okay. 7B, park going ons reports, although we probably can do this all at once, 7B, D, and C and D, or B and C.
Yeah, so,
My mic is on. I remembered this time. Basically, Brightview's been doing their maintenance, keeping track of the grass and the sprinklers. We did have one problem with the irrigation, the sprinkler system is just old. That's all there's to it. So we had a valve stick open, which caused a minor flood in the arts room downstairs in the main house. We went there with a cleanup crew. We had dehumidifiers, fans, air scrubbers, environmental reports. Because water got in there, a couple inches of water, so we were able to squeegee it out. We had the fire department show up and pump a lot of water out. We just got the data back that we can start putting the art council back in there as of yesterday. So Dorothy, I spoke to her today and we're going to start moving her stuff back downstairs. We had moved it upstairs temporarily, second floor of the main house, because they didn't have anything scheduled with the use of the second floor. So we were lucky. And it ended up being relatively minor damage. I was been in touch with Dorothy with the Arts Foundation. And we spoke this morning, and then we're going to try to move her back between now and Friday. And that's just something that just since I've been here, there's been several irrigation issues and we fixed them. But it's just, I don't know. I mean, I just wanted to let you know that that happened and we fixed it.
Is it, when you say irrigation issue, is it piping in the building that? broke,
Like
or-
a solenoid valve fails, which fails to close a water valve, which keeps the sprinklers on. for
Okay,
longer
so,
periods
so
of
the
time.
actual irrigation, not the interior
Right, and then it
buildings.
flooded.
plumbing. Okay.
Since
okay.
that's a low point, the main
I see,
house,
yeah.
the basement used to be a garage.
Okay.
So it's a low point. There is a drain there. And we brought a crew in to videotape the piping and we found some debris and some roots.
Okay.
So the next step is to try to clean that pipe out, not drop a lot of money on it, just try to fix it as best we can. And that's where we stand right now. We're moving the arts council back in this week.
You know whether that irrigation would be replaced as part of the circulation plan?
I don't know that. I wasn't here when they were developing that plan, but I can ask Sally. I can ask Robert too. It's more of this is my opinion, it's reached probably its useful life. I don't know how long it's been in place, the piping and,
I built a lot of it in 1972.
oh, wow. Okay.
You
Thank
calling,
you
you
for
calling
telling
me
me
old?
that.
It
You
lasted
calling
pretty
me out
well.
of date?
Yeah,
Good job, Frank.
yeah.
Good job.
We need you again.
Yeah.
One more time for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
Your kids, Frank.
That's right.
And then Brightview's been taking care of, they've done a very good job taking care of the grass and all the trees that fell and we're working with them to improve service. But we might increase using them for other items too. We're looking at that. So that's kind of where the park stands.
Okay.
And we actually had to replace One thing that's frustrating for me as a maintenance manager, and I think Walter mentioned this at one of the meetings I was at, is the bathrooms that are by the kids' play area.
Mhm.
Those definitely need some kind of look at in the next year or so, because they're just frankly worn out.
Okay, you mean like
Yeah.
completely
I mean, they're
knocked down and
usable.
rebuilt, or?
My personal opinion is some kind of like a replacement,
Okay.
in a long-term replacement, knock down and redo, but now just kind of like maybe a refresh. But I mean, if you go in there and look for yourself, you'll see it. I think you've probably been there. You
I've-
know,
Tired.
yeah,
It
that's
is old,
the right
yeah.
word. Yeah, we've had to replace the pump that pumps to the main sewer line
Objection.
twice already.
Yeah. Is it on the 5-year plan? I don't think it's even on there.
I don't know.
I've never seen it on there.
Yeah, I can bring it up.
Yeah, it's well, the budget's already been
Yeah,
kind of
and
approved, so
Robert was saying it'd be incredibly expensive, so I don't know. But I just wanted to bring it up because this
Okay.
is the Parks and Rec Committee, and it's something that all of you should know. I mean, people are still using it and they're still cleaning it and it's still flushing and all that kind of stuff. We put a new pump in, we're sending the byproduct to the correct sewer line.
could we use some of, if we go a little less than 100K on the, or a little less than $1 million on the new playground, spend some of it on the refresh of the bathroom?
It's not, I mean, not my call, but
Okay,
I would vote for that, but I don't have a vote, so.
okay. But it's good to hear staff's opinion.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, I've been there a lot the last month and many calls about the bathroom.
Oh,
That specific
residents have called or
Yeah,
or
we had-
people using, okay,
We've had to close them down for a couple days at a time to fix the
okay, yeah, that's a
pumping
problem.
and the piping issues. And
You could
then,
Put them on municipal water, right?
yeah, we're gonna change them from well water to,
But we're not doing that yet.
no, not yet. No,
We need to do that.
yeah,
Put them on well water or put them on, yeah.
Put them on, no, they're on well water.
well
That's why
water.
they're shutting
Well,
down.
water.
yeah.
That does sound expensive though, if we're gonna switch.
Yeah,
to municipal.
Robert said it would be very expensive.
Okay,
Yeah, unfortunately.
okay.
But I mean, a lot of kids use it, a lot of families use it, a lot
But
of
wait,
parents.
don't we have well water going to the bathroom at the Little League field? And I'm pretty sure we
I
do.
think we do have well water. Yeah.
No, not, sorry, not
I
well
mean-
water.
I
Don't
mean,
we have municipal water
Municipal
going to the
water to
bathroom?
the Little League ones, I do believe so.
So
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I mean, if
We've
you,
got a pipe going into the Little League field. Why can't we tap off of it and go to the restrooms and create a?
How far are they?
I
apart?
think
They're pretty far.
yeah,
They're not close to it, but the water's coming in
It's
from
already
the
in.
road.
Yeah,
Oh, it is.
that's the expensive.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's gotta be coming in from somewhere off Watkins
Yeah.
or coming over
And
from the main
the
house.
main house must
And,
have. yeah.
and the bathrooms are between the Little League field and the main house.
Yeah.
You'd think that. I mean,
Or we
you
could
gotta do
just
some piping.
relocate the whole thing somewhere closer to, if it's cheaper than running some new pipe down there, putting it next to a major building.
I'm sorry.
You
Sorry.
relocating the bathroom.
Yeah.
Hey, with their kids on the playground, you better have the bathroom.
It's gonna be a lot.
It's a lot more expensive to move a.
It is,
bathroom
okay.
than
Move a pipe.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if we are gonna demo it, if it's kind of foregone, but
That's not on the.
Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah.
I
This
just
is totally
letting
off
you
topic.
know that.
But thank you for that.
You said.
Are there any questions? Other questions?
Are we on park events?
Not quite. I did
Right,
have, I
okay.
did have one question. The chief said there were some concerns about after-hour problems.
So I don't know if you all know this, they've instituted a dawn to dusk closure of the park.
Okay,
So I don't know.
that's supposed to be the hours that you're not, unless you have an event there, you're not supposed to be in the park.
Right, and they've had some after hours activity, which caused this to happen, the PD was getting calls
Okay,
to go out there and there was some partying going on and stuff, so
Okay, so they're doing some active enforcement, basically.
yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, let's move on to the 7C park events. So you guys have the event report. Any questions or comments?
Tony, I'd like to see whether you could ask the people that put these charts together, whether they could do a 13-month. They could do a 13-month. Every one of these is a
Oh,
12-month.
Okay.
They do a 13-month, we could compare month to month. No, prior year. I find that a lot more, well, equally
Yeah.
interesting as what we have here.
Actually, I prefer they can do it 2 years.
2 years,
2 years, yeah, more than just that 1 month. That way we can, because,
Whatever.
you know, there might be a month anomaly and we can't really tell if something good happened or something bad happened that month or last year's month, so.
I will bring it up
Okay,
to Robert and Sally, since she was involved with the park so long.
thank you.
Do you want me to say anything about the
About-
have the report there, if you have any questions.
Yeah,
you can always contact me.
I think anyone has any questions or need a summary of something in there or have a question? If not.
One thing I didn't was get the May tennis court usage till yesterday from
Okay,
Players Capital.
okay, okay. We'll get that next month.
Yeah, and I talked to Sally about that and she said we could do 2 months of that.
Fair enough. If not, we can go to 7D, individual committee member comments. Does anyone have any comments for the committee? Seeing none,
That future agenda items yet or not?
we can include, yes, that can be.
Okay.
future. Please.
Tony, I would like to see what events have really been funded. That's what's in the budget. I have trouble, I mean, Robert, I'm sure, either Robert or both Roberts can do this for us, but if we could see what the park actually has funded for current year and the 5 years out, it's really the point that I was asking Rick about. We can see some total numbers, but we can't see what the project is. What are they doing? And what's the budget for it? That would be great.
The capital budget you're talking about, correct?
Well, any budget. Well, no, not exactly, not the event, not taking care of the weeds,
Yeah.
but yeah, the capital. Capital budget only.
Let me slightly modify that. It's better if you break it into year by year, like Walt is asking, and break out the design or assessment costs from the construction or implementation costs. Because municipalities move slowly, and it's very often that the design costs, well, they're always separated from the construction costs, but it's very often that the design costs are the year before the construction costs. And I've asked for exactly the same thing on everything that we do, so that George has it available for the
Okay,
park.
good.
Because the three big areas we have are the park, drainage and streets. And I've asked for all three of those exactly the same thing. So he has the park. And yeah. And there's some things from the past you might dig up that I don't know where they're going. It kind of feeds into the question. But the examples being the restrooms in the carriage house. They've been sort of on the agenda forever, and I suspect we never got a bidder to bid on the proposal, so we haven't done anything about it.
I have a vision of Sally always saying, we still haven't convinced anyone to come out to bid on it. Yeah.
And I'm not, and I think that the switch over of the water for the restrooms at the playground was also on the plan from the past. So I'm not, so those are the two things, George probably has a list of what the capital projects are that haven't been done.
Okay. I mean, that project's always been in the this report that we get, and it's been one of the future things. Not sure if I can find it though. usually one of the future things to be done that always stays on our report, which is why I always remember it.
Well, they have new and future planned projects.
Yeah.
But they don't have.
Oh, they don't have it on there? Okay.
Well, they've got, I'm sorry, her first one, exactly. Convert the rest.
Yeah.
Well, water to public water.
It's been on there.
We always have it on some
Yeah,
page.
ever since Bob's been, maybe ever since Frank's been on the committee, it's been there.
I
So
remember that way back.
one day we'll get to it. Okay, are there any other member comments? If not,
I'm sorry, but we do have an extra item, which is our calendar, which
Oh.
wasn't on the agenda, but it
Oh,
has been
okay.
distributed
So that was
in front of you.
kind of my fault because Sally mentioned it, but I wasn't sure. I looked at it and then it said July. And I didn't notice that till. So what she was saying to me that elect the committee's officials, that's coming up.
Mhm.
And then we need to approve the calendar, and I think it's this calendar, the 23-24 fiscal year agenda calendar. And then reevaluate goals.
yeah, that's definitely July, the
Yeah,
goals.
So I
yeah.
think I made it a month early.
That makes sense because
Yeah.
we do have two members whose term will expire and the council will decide who's gonna fill those terms next,
Okay, I
next,
wasn't
next
aware.
month.
Who are those?
I think it's me and Walt. Is it? Or is your term up?
It sure is.
Oh, your term is up.
No, I think there's three of us.
Oh, there's three of us, yeah. So if,
And do we just say we'd like to continue, or they just make? the decision?
usually,
I think you have to apply.
Yeah,
Yes.
tell.
Yes.
George.
I got an email from Francesca asking if I wanted to reapply and
We're fine actually with the park and rec. Everyone.
reapply. Okay, and then it's up to the
We
council.
just have to approve the elections.
We don't know what the council's gonna do.
So, Robert, maybe we could put on the July, when you actually propose it, that we do have this on the agenda, that we have George, Robert, whoever's going to make the report on what our capital future is. In other words, just get it on the agenda so that they don't have to show up and maybe they want to give us a report or something, but something so
Then we
that we
can-
know
then-
that they're going to give us this detailed report.
The next 5 years capital budget. Okay, that was approved.
Exactly.
Okay,
One versus out,
yeah.
Rick
So
says.
that'd be on the July agenda.
Yeah, did you want to ask questions? It'd probably be Robert. So did you want to ask questions of Robert about it, or you just wanted that as an informational item?
Well, that's a good question. What do you think?
Robert isn't gonna have any judgment. He's just gonna know what the budget is.
Yeah,
Okay,
you can answer
Yeah.
questions about the budget, yeah,
let's,
or we can wait for him.
in fact, if he gives us a report, we could decide, couldn't
Hey,
we,
if we need
Alex,
to
whether
wait.
to have him come later?
Well, the next time he would be coming is in November. Well,
That's
assuming,
fast.
assuming when,
Not September?
not according to this.
Oh,
Oh, Mr. Berengover, you're right, it's September, yeah, so we can, if we can wait till September, we can just ask him then. So we'll just get the report in July and then have a couple months to study, okay?
I just have a quick question in this.
Sure,
group.
go ahead,
It's just-
Trish.
It's just on this table that has to do with the, it's just following the agenda advisor, and it's the one that goes through the facility, what it's used for, the type of permit deposit. And two questions I had. One, the fees are different for resident versus non-resident. But there's also an odd thing on number 52323. It says deposit 1,200 and revenue 1,000. So, that doesn't,
Very well could have been a mistake.
okay, good. What I was trying to do is I'm not familiar with what the Jennings Pavilion for a non-resident is 1,200. And here it looks like for a resident, it's 1,200. I thought that resident had a differential price, maybe what
They
they
do.
mean.
They do.
Okay, so I think that's just a snafu. I just was not familiar with what kind of discount residents got. So
Yeah, I can bring that up. to
Okay.
Cassidy.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just, I thought I was confused.
This is the third time I've seen it, so. This report, so I'll talk to Cassidy and. See what I can find out and report back to you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to understand. I was trying to use this to really understand the resident versus non-resident, and making sure that. Thank you.
Okay,
Speaking of Cassidy, Don't we usually have her come during the year and give a report?
Yeah, we do.
Definitely do.
We.
We
did
always
have her
have.
come. Yeah,
Yeah, we do.
I think we had to come this past fiscal year.
You definitely,
Well, we certainly did as she was getting started again.
Yeah, I can't remember which month it
What
was
are you
though.
talking about?
Cassidy, the events.
Caterer.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I thought I saw her on one of the.
that, is that December park event staff update?
That could be.
if
that
this is a
probably
repeat of last year, then that's probably,
Yeah.
we probably had her in December then.
Yeah, that probably is
That's
it.
probably.
On this calendar, the other thing that you should change is that for October and April, you've got the same start time of 6:30, but since we do a walkthrough in those months, we do the walkthrough at 5:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, you need
Sally
time-
also
you need
mentioned,
time on the walkthrough. Yeah.
right, so that would 5:30 in October
And April.
and April, okay. And then she mentioned August. Are we still gonna have August as a dark month? In other words, no meeting.
We typically do because that's a
The
vacation.
council doesn't have a meeting. There are years where Park and Rec has met, but it's your call.
I mean, what we can decide next month, but unless I typically gauge if there's, anything time critical. If there's not, then we can skip
Okay.
the August one.
Oh, and then one more thing, sorry.
Go ahead.
January 2024. So that's like the first week of the year, and from what Sally and Robert were telling me, that's usually a pretty busy week.
No, it's not that it's busy.
Second.
Is that there's no time to
Oh.
put together a staff report.
Yeah, because
because
people
there's
are off.
Vacation in
Yeah.
December,
God,
and the first Wednesday
But
doesn't
that's-
give you time,
but it-
so.
Because
That's the second.
you need a,
Rick has,
Second.
Rec has met on the second Wednesday.
okay.
because Brown Act requires you to publish 72 hours before, and that could be in December. So you don't want to do that.
So do you want me to change that date, or is that?
Uh,
that's the right date?
The second,
Right date.
the second Tuesday, the second
Which is-
Wednesday of
should
the
be.
month. Yeah.
Which is on there, right?
I mean,
Yes.
it's
It is.
really not the
Except
first.
that The second Wednesday is January 8th.
Okay, so.
Okay.
It's not.
January 8th.
I just looked, I think it's the tenth.
You do?
Yeah, I'm in 2024.
Oh, maybe I'm in 2025.
I think you're in 2020.
You're right.
It's a
Okay,
leap year.
you're
so
right,
you
you're right.
lose 2 days.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The 10th is correct. The
Yeah,
10th is
you're right,
correct.
you're right,
Tenth
you're
is
right.
correct. Okay.
10th,
Good.
correct, yeah. So this is good, all this feedback, we can next July this July, we'll have it approved. Once those changes are in. Anything else for comments before we confirm the July 5th meeting, I think would be?
Actually, just one quick.
Go ahead.
Is there some place where we have goals for revenue for the cater events? I'm just wondering, do we ever know if we're short or long or happy or sad, or is there, do we have that somewhere? Is it in the budget that we should have this much revenue and where we are?
I don't think we've taken that approach.
Okay.
I mean, we did do the evaluation, maybe before you joined, of how much reevaluate the charges of the caterer, make it a little
Right.
more closer to where the market is. And also, it was a little all over the place too. And then so to have it be kind of flatter pricing, so it'd be clear for people. And then we we did that analysis, we sent it to the council adjusted it, so they
Yep.
gave a bigger discount to residents. And they may have, I don't remember if they increased the prices for non-resident or kept it about the same. but-
I'm more
You don't remember,
intrigued,
okay.
the pricing,
Yeah.
Dennis did a great job. I'm more intrigued of like, should we be doing something to encourage more people to have events at the park?
Yeah.
Okay. If it-
It's kind of a plus or minus. You have more events, there's more noise, and then.
So we're kind of.
Yeah, there's,
That's.
well,
fine.
yeah, there's. I presented 3 different ways you could do it. You maximize revenue, maximize profit, or maximize use. And I think they decided to go with the kind of market rate and then discount for
I think
residents.
that's really Cassidy's role. She explains that to us. We talk about it. Where
Yeah.
does she market? what kind of events is she marketing for? I think it's a good point, and I think that's why I like her to come, so we can ask
Yeah,
questions.
that'd be great.
But I think Noah's saying from a strategic
Yes.
sort of policy level. Should we have a goal for revenue versus expense related to the park? Which is. an
Which we do.
appropriate thing for
We
park.
do. We see it, remember?
No,
We
It's
see it
split
every
out.
month. I see the breakdown, but it would be good to schedule a conversation on what is our goal.
Mhm.
So we know.
And maybe that could be part of the goals list.
So we-
Okay.
we
I mean, I
talked
think for
about
the
that.
goals list, you're thinking of sort of what big things do we want to target, because that's what we.
Yeah, the hard part of the market analysis is, I don't know if we as a team have the skills, because we would probably have to hire some consultant to do it unless we did it. But then I don't know if we really have the expertise to say, this is what you should be doing, Cassidy, or.
Can I
Well,
just chime in?
Go
Because this
ahead.
is something that we talked about a few meetings ago, and I had raised the strategic question. You know, does the park want to have overarching goals that we're striving for? Whether it's usage or revenue or whatever it is, and kind of have that, not a mission statement, but to look at it from a bigger picture perspective. And I think, as Alex is saying, we did the pricing review and then we kind of let her do what she does. And obviously she's trying to maximize her own, profitability. So that would drive it a little bit. But we never kind of came to any definitive conclusion about, do we want to have overarching park goals? So it's interesting that that's coming up again. And maybe that's something we talk about at the next meeting.
Sure, we can make it one of the top goals in terms of event revenue.
Because if you really go out and market the park, if we were to help and Cassidy to even be more proactive.
Yeah.
Then you get into
Right.
the question of how much traffic and usage.
Yeah,
is too
that's
much.
the other
Right,
thing.
exactly, and that's why I often I do it with my kids, okay, what if every event went away and we had no money coming in? What happens? Or the opposite, what if every day is 100% packed, and how does everyone feel? I just think we
Yeah.
want to, and what is the right balance, and how do we achieve that balance? Because I don't know if we should be having 10 events a month, or we should be having 5 or 20. And if it is 20, then how are we as a committee gonna recommend to Cassidy to improve that?
Yeah,
So.
And
I
it's
just
very
brought it up.
seasonal. I mean, August, September,
Oh, yeah.
October is just
Yeah.
the lion's share, so. I think the other way to look at it is, would we know if it were being used in a way we don't like, is there too much? I
Well,
think
we-
Kind of wait,
the
we wait to
council-
see a problem.
The council would tell us about noise
Exactly.
complaints.
Yeah.
There's a lot of late night weddings, although weddings are very lucrative, but at the same
Yeah,
time,
they're noisy.
yeah, they're noisy. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
That's why I'd like to have Cassidy come and
idea.
Robert, because Robert will tell you what our budgeted for.
so.
How
so
much
let-
money does he want to get out of us? And how does it fit?
That's what he wants to get out of us.
Yeah, right.
Do we want to move Cassidy up in the calendar then? It seems like it's something that,
Better in December.
yeah,
If I had I would like it either October and November, and maybe move our play school out to December.
okay, sure. Play schools, okay, I see. Move play school to December and then event update in September or
No,
October.
October or November, because I think we'd have Robert here to give us, here's the numbers.
Why don't
But
you
he's
move
doing that in
Atherton Arts-
September, right?
why don't You
Right.
switch Atherton Arts and Cassidy.
Okay,
and
that's
then you
easier. Yeah.
switch in October and December.
Good.
Okay, we'll switch that.
It'll be the week, the month.
And then
after we
we'll get
the-
Robert's report in September, then hear from Cassidy in the next one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Good.
Okay.
That's good.
Next meeting is July 5th. Is everyone okay with that? That's the day after Independence Day.
Yeah, I was just looking at that.
Is that a staff holiday?
I don't
It's a
know.
Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday, though.
Wednesday.
Yeah, no, I think that,
Fine with me.
Is there a council meeting on that day too?
Yeah.
There is, okay. So it is definitely a work day. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I don't know if you're taking.
Fifth is fine with me.
Fifth is fine, okay.
well, there's gonna be, for a lot of people, a 4-day weekend that ends on the 4th.
Oh,
If it- I mean, if the 5th was a Friday and the 4th was a Thursday, it would be more challenging, but.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
then motion to adjourn,
motion.
okay, second? Okay, We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks.
June.
Hey.